Daddy. Isn't it great? You finally come to take me home with you. I'm so happy, Daddy. I could explode.
Well, don't explode just yet. We've a long drive ahead of us.
Besides, Susan, young ladies who are about to graduate from high school do not explode.
Yes, Sister Renee.
Well, you've grown some, Susan. I hardly recognize you.
Hello.
Aren't you going to kiss your mother?
Francine's not my mother. My mother's dead. Isn't she?
Well, yes, of course she is, darling.
We're still going to be friends, aren't we?
Are you going to be my governess again?
Susan, I know I can never replace your real mother. But if you'll let me, I want us to be friends.
There's Jenny. I have to say goodbye. Jenny?
You must forgive Susan. You must, how shall I say, you must hear what she says with your heart.
Of course.
It is as I told you. One moment she may act perfectly normal, the next...
We appreciate your concern, sister, but I can assure you she will have the best of care.
You must remember Susan went through a terrible ordeal, so terrible that the memory of her experience was wiped from her fragile mind by shock. And even though it has been 3 years since the accident, the tragic death of her mother has left scars that still pain her in the dead of night.
Is she still having those nightmares you wrote us about?
Always vivid, horrid nightmares. Perhaps if you would have been able to visit her, even to write more often.
Yes, but we've been traveling a great deal since...
I am sorry. That was unkind of me. But there are times when the phantoms of the past tear at that poor child's mind. There are times when she seems on the verge of...
Remembering?
Oh, heaven forbid she remembers. No God in his mercy so fit to make her forget. And, Mr. Shelley, it is wrong of you to tamper with God's judgment by taking her back to the place where it all began.
We're not going back to Flagmore House because we want to, I can assure you.
You must do what you must. I have to return to the other children now. Goodbye.
Thank you, sister.
Goodbye.
Susan, time to go.
Au revoir, Susan. Gardez-vous bien sûr. Soyez gentille.
Goodbye, Sister Renee.
me. We had no idea.
Nobody told us. Not a word.
He's in the salon, waiting for you.
You could have written us about it.
Yes, I even meant to have my picture taken and enclose it with a letter. But unfortunately, the postal authorities don't allow pornography in the mails. Well, aren't you going to kiss your cousin?
I know it's not much help if there's ever anything we can do.
You've all done quite sufficient as it is. I'll get your luggage, Francine. Oh, excuse me, it's Mrs. Shelley now, isn't it?
You're late, Mrs. Shelley.
Well, sorry, Mr. Claiborne, but there was a lot more red tape and paperwork involved in getting Susan released than I anticipated.
Excuses never apply to few, Mr. Shelley. I'm a busy man. Now, if you can get Judge Henley to pay me overtime to work as court trustee for your daughter's estate, then I'll be very glad to listen to all the excuse me's and sorries you care to come up with. Now, let's get on with it. Hey, Mr. Shelley?
Yes, this is my wife, Francine.
How do you do, Mr. Claiborne?
I've seen you before.
Maybe. I used to live in this house.
Francine was my governess.
Took Jessica's place, huh? You'll have to work very hard to be the woman she was. Step here, girl. Come on, girl, come here. Now, Susan, when your mother died, she left this house and a lot of money. And at the time, when the will was read to those interested parties, you were, you weren't here, you were in that place there.
The convent?
Oh, that's what they call it, eh? Well, we can call the town graveyard, Sleepy Pines, I guess. Wherever you were, I guess we can call that a convent. At any rate, at the time, you were in no condition to understand the terms of the will. So Judge Henley's instructed me to read you the will now that you're in a clear frame of mind. You know right from wrong?
Right from wrong?
When somebody kills somebody for no good reason, you think that person should be punished. Come on, girl, come on. Can't be too hard to decide whether a killer should be punished.
Well, answer the man.
I suppose.
You suppose?
Seems to me a very sane answer, considering the world we live in.
Yeah. In her will, Jessica left this house and the land around it, the state, to be used in some civic or cultural manner. On my advice, of course. Otherwise, the tax bite of Miss White Elephant would, well, not only eaten up the entire $100,000, your father's bequest, but it would have wiped out the $500,000 in bonds and securities left to you in your inheritance.
Oh, and let's not forget the generous $500 she left to me. Less taxes, of course.
We've been all through that, Mr. Flagmore. If you want to contest the will again, that's your right. It'll do you as little good as it did the last time.
I wouldn't think of making any more trouble for you, Mr. Claiborne. Or for anyone else, come to that. As you can see, I'm quite content.
Yeah, where was I?
Somewhere between a white elephant and $500,000.
Oh, yes, money. The money's yours, all right. But you can't touch a penny of it. Because it's in trust to be held until your 25th birthday. Only thing you can spend is the interest on schooling and medical needs and things like that. Is that clear? Now, the main reason for this meeting is to get an answer to one question. You want to live in this house?
Do I what, sir?
Come on, girl, I'm speaking English. Do you want to live here?
I don't understand.
Let me Susan, come on over here. Sit down there. You see, dear, although your mother willed the house to the government, she left the furnishings, furniture, the paintings, antiques, and all the rest to me. But to protect your interests, she made one important stipulation, that the state is not to take title to Flagmore as long as you want to live here.
Which means your father can't sell anything off this place. Because Judge Henley ain't got it in mind to let you live in a house shred of every bit of decent comfort.
Mr. Claiborne, please. As a matter of fact, dear, I have to sell the paintings and the furniture. I need the money. It seems I was rather foolish with the funds your mother left me. I made some pretty bad investments.
Mink coats, foreign cars, high living in all those foreign countries. Some kind of $100,000 investment, if you ask me.
I don't recall having asked you.
News gets around.
Point is, dear, I haven't very much money left. I must sell the furniture, but I need your permission first.
My permission?
For heaven's sakes, yes, Susan, your permission. It's demeaning enough without having to drag it on. We're tired.
If you need money, Daddy, you can have mine.
Not a chance, girl. Like I said, every penny of your inheritance is tied up in a trust fund. It can't be touched unless you become totally incompetent. That means crazy. Or unless you die.
Mr. Claiborne, I said...
I know, Mr. Shelley. It's unpleasant. But some things are better said straight out, so there's no misunderstanding. And, Susan, the law is the law. And it's better to understand its meaning. Now, if you should be sent back to that convent permanently, or if you should die, the estate passes on to your father. If, on the other hand, your father should die also, whatever's left goes to Anthony Flagmore as the sole surviving blood relative, less taxes, that is.
And the burial expenses, of course.
What is it, girl? Yes or no?
Whatever my daddy wants.
Done. Yeah, like pulling teeth out of a jackrabbit. I'll have the paper signed sometime next week.
Next week? Mr. Claiborne, that would be too late.
What do you mean, too late?
Well, the sale starts tomorrow. I already sent out the announcements.
All right. I'll get the judge to sign the release first thing in the morning. Pretty sure of yourself, aren't you?
A pleasant mixture of charm and hospitality, wasn't he?
Take Susan to her room.
Susan!
That table will be fine for the odds and ends. Antiques, silverware, and anything that you find in the attic and cellar.
My God, how she would laugh.
What?
Do you remember how they would all flock to this room and Jessica would hold court? She'd sit right over there like a queen and match wits with all the idiots and country bumpkins. Yes, they all came here once. They'll come again. One last party at Flagmore.
Susan! Susan!
See if you can find some boxes and crates to pack the things in.
Edward.
What's the matter?
It's Susan.
Anthony, just what is the meaning of this?
I thought it would be appropriate. Tomorrow is the anniversary of Jessica's death.
It's time to go to bed, dear.
Do you think Mother is still angry with me, Daddy?
Why would you think a thing like that?
I don't know.
Oh, your mother loved you, darling.
Yes. She did, didn't she?
I think we'll all feel better after a good night's sleep.
Susan, would you care to see your mother's room? I've had it restored.
I'd like very much to see it.
No. No, I think not.
Why? I'm rather curious to see it myself.
Well, maybe tomorrow.
What are you afraid of? Ghosts?
It's the same, Daddy. It's the same.
Yes, exactly the same. Just as it was on the night of the fire, isn't it, Susan?
Oh, it's so beautiful.
The drapes were the most difficult to reproduce, but I finally found the material in New Orleans, tucked away in one of those quaint little shops near the Latin Quarter.
Your humor's rather grim, Anthony.
It wasn't done for compliments, Francine.
Another tribute to Jessica?
Yes, I think she would have liked it this way.
I find it in very bad taste.
I also find your return to this house in bad taste.
Susan, time for bed.
Anthony, was this where you found her?
Yes, but I never did reach her. Because you see, Susan, it was a blazing inferno, and very much what hell must be like.
It's all right, dear. Go to your room. Just one thing, Anthony. There'll be no more raking up of the past. You understand?
I understand one thing. That past is like a tiger. No matter how you pet it and pretend that it's tame, one day it will turn. Now, I'd be careful of the past if I were you, Edward, because it's here in every stone and every timber of this estate. An estate which is more mine than yours, or hers.
somebody kills, somebody kills, somebody kills. Right, wrong,
What did he mean?
About what?
About the past.
Here, you need this more than I do.
If you just give me a chance once in a while to blow off a little steam instead of always walking. I'm sorry.
Well, you're sorry, right enough.
But it is true, isn't it?
Is what true? Now, let me see. Is it true I made love to a bellboy at the hotel in Geneva? Or are you still wondering about that guy in Rome? Or the salesman in Munich? Was that true? I'll tell you something that is true, Edward. I'm sick to death of you and your jealousy.
Just one thing.
You mean to begin with?
When I first brought you into this house as Susan's governess, you and Anthony, that was true, wasn't it?
I won't give you the satisfaction of an answer. But even if it were true, what possible difference could it make now? I married you, didn't I? And we lived happily ever afterwards, didn't we?
What happened to us, Francine?
I loved you once. But you became poor. And I became bored. So bored I could die.
What do you want me to do?
Cure me.
How? I've tried every way I know. You've gone through $100,000 worth of remedies. What else can I do?
I've already told you, cure me.
Well, I'm trying, damn it. That's why I'm selling everything.
Will it bring in enough to cover expenses for the winter in Rome?
No, it will not. But once I invest the money in some profits...
I love Rome in the winter. Please find a way to get more money.
There is no way.
Of course there is. You have a very wealthy daughter, haven't you?
Not until she's 25. You know the contents of the will just as well as I do.
She's also a very sick girl. If she were to get worse...
She would have to go back in there, and I would get control of her trust fund. Is that what you mean?
Darling, you're always taking the wrong view of things. The important thing is that Susan would be someplace where she's loved. If she were to have a relapse in this horrid house and have to be recommitted, you'd really be doing the poor child a favor now, wouldn't you? Think about it. It may warm you in your bed tonight.
Crawl in, the worms crawl out, in your stomach and out your mouth.
The worms? The worms?
No, darling, no.
It was Mommy.
Come on, come to bed, dear.
She was killed, Daddy.
Well, yes, Susan, but that was a long time ago. Come on, come on.
No, you don't understand. She was killed. Murdered.
Oh, now you're just imagining things, dear.
It's true.
Well, your fingers, you've scraped them raw. How did you do that?
It was Mommy. She was here.
Come, dear, let's go. Come on. Go to your room now.
I saw her face. One side was so pretty. The other, it was all burned.
One side?
She was here, Daddy. She was murdered. She told me.
Jessica. That's what I want to see. Isn't that a shame? How awful. Harry, that table is just what I want.
Tommy, what in the world are you doing now?
Look, Daddy, I'm a mountain climber.
Oh, come on, you're gonna break your neck.
Is that the little girl? The one that's a little loose?
You're Jessica's daughter, aren't you? Susan, isn't it?
Yes?
Remember me, Susan, Mrs. Liddon from Fairview. We used to visit here often.
Were you friends of my mother?
Yes, good friends.
Then why did you come here? Why don't you go? Friends wouldn't do what you're doing.
Well,
After what happened last night, any doctor in the world...
Francine, you cannot have a person committed to a mental institution for having a nightmare.
You and I know it was not just a nightmare Susan had.
And what do you mean by that?
Edward, don't pretend she was just hallucinating. There's more to it than that.
Oh, I don't want to talk about it now.
Why? What are you afraid of? Edward!
What is it, Elsie?
Something dreadful has happened. I must show you. Why? Why, of course. The governess.
My wife, Francine, Elsie Cornwall.
I was Jessica's best friend.
Yes, I do vaguely remember you.
Oh, Edward, Jessica's portrait. Just look what some vandal did to it. Can you believe such a thing?
Get out of here! All of you, get out of this house! Get out! Leave my mother's things alone!
Susan,
Get out of here!
What is it?
Tell them to go, Daddy. Send them away.
Dear, I can't do that.
Yes, you can.
What? Susan, what is the matter with you? You knew this was going to happen.
But I didn't think it would be like this. Tell them to leave my mother's things alone.
Oh, Susan, please don't mind. My daughter's just a little bit upset. Let's go somewhere, dear, and talk. Just go right ahead and take whatever you want.
Tell them to go, Daddy.
Let's go upstairs, dear.
Shall I call a doctor?
I said no. Let's sit here and talk.
I'm sorry if I was rude.
That's all right. I understand.
No, you don't. Nobody does.
Well, of course I do. It's not easy to see all the things that were familiar to you as a child being sold like this.
It's not that.
What then?
I'm afraid they'll take it away.
Take what away?
I don't know.
You don't know what?
I know it sounds silly, but there's something here. Here in the house. Something I have to find.
Honey, I haven't had much experience understanding children. Maybe I can make that up to you if you'll give me a chance. But you'll have to help. And you can start by making a little more sense than you have been. What is here in this house?
It's something that'll explain who killed Mother.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Susan.
She was murdered, Daddy, and there is something here in the house that'll prove it. If I could just remember what.
Your mother's death was an accident. The authorities settled that once and for all. They said she must have knocked a burning candle off the bedstand in her sleep. The room caught fire. That is how it was.
There was something else, Daddy. I know it.
Just because your mind won't let you remember what happened that night doesn't mean you have to imagine something that didn't.
I can't help it. Oh, Daddy, what's the matter with me? I can't remember. And yet I can't forget.
What? We'll talk more later.
Oh, do you care to do some hunting this afternoon? Yeah.
Well, I see you still keep these beasts.
I wouldn't come too close if I were you. Cleo can be rather unpredictable.
I thought she would have flown away by now.
I still find her far more constant than a woman.
She's a killer, isn't she?
We're all killers, one way or the other, I suppose. You love to meddle with danger, don't you, Francine? Now, don't provoke her. She's liable to snap the leash.
Your concern is a comfort.
My only concern is for the hawk.
None for me, Tony. After all, we did mean something to each other once.
I had bronchial pneumonia once, but I got over it.
The sounds you make are much more antisocial than those of your pet.
I have rather more reason, wouldn't you say?
Yes, you have. I'm sorry, Tony. Really sorry.
Save your sympathy for your husband. He needs it.
Why did you try to save Jessica that night?
Because everyone has the right to play the hero and the fool at least once in their lives. And counting you, I've played the fool twice.
Were you in the hospital a long time?
Not half as long as it must seem to Edward, being married to someone like you.
What did you say to Susan last night?
Susan.
I saw you coming from Jessica's room.
I didn't say anything to the child. You see, I didn't have to. Because she was right. Jessica was murdered.
Are you accusing me? Or confessing to it yourself?
I'm merely stating fact. And fact is a stubborn truth.
Living alone has made a philosopher out of you.
It makes living slightly more tolerable.
There are many things that make living more tolerable.
You're referring to money, I take it.
Life can be a lot less complicated with a lot more money, don't you think?
It's academic.
Not to Susan, it isn't. We'll all be old and gray by the time her inheritance is finally turned over to her. It won't do any of us any good at all. With all that money, she'll find life very sweet. It would be a shame, wouldn't it, if something should happen to her first, before she has a chance to spend any of it.
And then the entire estate would go to Edward.
And through Edward. To me.
And you, being the just and honest woman that you are, would soon rectify Jessica's mistake and enlarge upon my legacy.
It would be the only fair thing to do, wouldn't it, Tony?
It is an interesting pipe dream.
And fortunately, we are all born to dream.
Susan? You look pale. Are you all right? It was your mother's, wasn't it?
The night she wore it on the night of the fire.
I thought you were supposed to have forgotten everything about that night.
Well, I have, except I remember because of something I had. Something I was holding. I was sitting on the stairs, waiting for my mother and father to come home from a party. And I had this toy. I think it was a bird. Like a hawk or a falcon.
A hawk? You mean like the ones Tony keeps?
But this one wasn't real. It was a toy bird. All glittering and fiery.
Like a bird in flight?
It was all shimmering like...
Like diamonds? Come with me. It's the same dress, isn't it?
No.
What do you mean, no? It's identical.
Yes.
Yes, no. What do you mean, Susan?
Mother had two dresses. This one got torn, so she had another one made.
But she did wear it the night of the fire.
Yes.
And that's why it reminds you of something that looks like a hawk. A bird that looked like that.
No, it was a toy.
All right. All right, it was a toy. But you're sure you had it in your hands the night of the fire? You're positive of that?
Yes.
Then what did you do with it?
I buried it. It died, so I buried it.
Where? Where did you bury it? I'll help you remember. The night of the fire, they found you wandering around out here. You'd already forgotten what had happened. You were in a daze. Now think, Susan. You must have buried the toy somewhere near the house. Try to remember where. What is it, Susan? Tell me.
I was just thinking, how can a toy die?
There is no necklace.
Edward, you frighten me.
In spite of what Susan's vivid imagination may have led you to believe, there is no necklace.
Well, of course there isn't, darling. I was here when Jessica reported the gems stolen from her strongbox. Remember? Now, let me see. That was almost 6 months before the night of the fire, wasn't it?
I don't want to play games with you, Francine. The police have already torn the place apart. I don't want to have to go through that again.
Oh, Edward, don't be silly. I was only going along with some foolishness of Susan's out there. She seemed obsessed with having me help her find some nonsense or other.
From where I was, it didn't appear you thought it was nonsense at the time. You badgered the child till she ran off to her room crying.
Well, it's not my fault, dear. I keep telling you the girl needs medical help.
I don't ever want to hear you say that again. You understand?
You really shouldn't tax your heart with these strange outbursts, Edward, or you'll be having to see a doctor, too.
Look, Francine, I'm very upset and I'm sorry. It's just that I don't want Susan to go through any more torture than she already has.
Why this parental concern all of a sudden, Edward? I can understand the instinct in an animal to protect its young. But you, dear, you've always been so selfish, so cynical. Makes me wonder if there might be something else behind it.
Don't involve Susan in any more fanciful speculations about the past. Just leave her alone.
Of course I will, darling. I'm not as cold-blooded as you think. Of course, it would make a handsome legacy, wouldn't it?
What would?
The necklace. If it really were around here somewhere, I mean. Considering the state of your health, the diamonds would make a very comforting consolation if I was suddenly to become a widow.
Anything wrong?
I don't know.
Would some cookies and milk help?
I don't like the thunder, Daddy.
Well, at least it got you out of your room to come down here and visit me. So you see, there's always some good in everything bad if you just look for it.
And something bad and everything good. Isn't there?
They teach you that at the convent?
There's something bad in me, Daddy. I can feel it.
What were you and Francine searching for?
Searching for?
Yes, this afternoon.
Oh, it was nothing.
May I come in?
You're already in.
You know, you and I have never had a chance to talk about the night your mother died.
We never really talked much about anything.
Yes, I know. Perhaps now is a good time to start.
What do you want me to say?
Well, I don't want you to say anything you don't want to. But since you started to remember certain things, I might be able to help you remember the rest.
I don't know if I really want to remember anymore.
Yes, maybe it's just as well you don't.
Daddy, if we talk, will it chase away the dreams? The bad dreams?
If you keep on having these nightmares, you might have to go back to the convent.
Oh, Daddy, I do want to stop dreaming. I want very much to stop dreaming.
Honey, tell me what you remember about that night. About the toy. The glittering hawk.
How did you know about it?
Tony, what if I told you the necklace was never stolen before Jessica died? It was here in the house all the time. It still is.
Aren't you being rather ridiculous?
Am I? Why did you risk your life the night of the fire? To save Jessica? I don't believe it. I never have, although you convinced everyone else you're a hero. It wasn't your cousin you were trying to save.
The necklace?
Sugar?
1 lump or 2?
I'll start with 1. I never could understand your motive. Especially since I knew how much you hated Jessica for holding on so tight to the family purse strings. So tight you never even had enough money of your own to impress a mere governess, or even tempt me to consider your amorous advances seriously.
You don't need any sugar, Francine. You're saccharine sweet as it is.
It must have been dreadful for you there in that hospital room, knowing your brave deed had gone for nothing.
Perhaps. But then again, as you suggest, I may already have the necklace.
If you did, you wouldn't be here. Now, Susan has the necklace. From what I can make of her nonsense about a sparkling toy, she found it that night. And then sometime during a panic, she hid it.
You cut your fingers on this, didn't you? Why? Why did you do it? Why did you tear at it? Did the necklace have anything to do with it? Can you remember?
The poor child. She adored her mother so. Perhaps it'd be more merciful if she was sent to join her.
And Edward, too.
You intrigue me.
Do I?
Your only sense of morality lies in the exquisite lack of any virtue whatsoever.
When they're dead, you will inherit the estate. $500,000. And I'll get the necklace. Seems fair enough. Come to the house in 10 minutes.
Before you go, I believe we should discuss the terms.
I thought we just settled that.
We merely discussed a financial arrangement. But after all, what use is money to a thing that looks like me? So you see, my dear Francine, you'll have to think of a better offer. What price are you really willing to pay?
What is it?
Susan, what is it? What frightened you? What happened?
I did it, Daddy. I did it.
I
did it.
Did what?
I killed her. My mother. I did it. I killed her. I killed her. I killed her.
And I wanted to help her. Doctor, my daughter's got to have the sedative right now. Well, this is an emergency, too. All right. Look, doctor, call the pharmacy in town and okay a prescription. I'll pick it up myself. Yeah, that's right. Goodbye.
Don't leave me, Daddy. They'll punish me. They'll punish me for what I did.
Well, you haven't done anything wrong, darling. You're safe now. Nobody's gonna hurt you.
They'll punish me for what I did to Mother. Daddy, I'm the worst thing that ever was alive.
You'll feel better about it as soon as I get back with the medicine. You'll see. You rest now. Get out. I want you out of here by the time I get back from town. Pack up and get out.
found it. I found it. The necklace.
Susan?
Mommy? Is Francine coming to sit with me? Or is she going out too?
Do you like my dress?
It's very pretty, Mommy. You're very beautiful. Will Daddy come kiss me goodnight before you go to the party?
Your father's gone on ahead. But I can't join him until I have the necklace.
No, you can't have it. I need it.
I must have it. Don't you see? This dress was designed to be worn with the necklace. You want me to look my best now, don't you, Susan?
I want to look pretty, too.
Where is it? Where did you hide it, Susan?
No, I won't tell you.
Where.
No.
Tell me where you hid it.
Answer me. Operator, yes, I've been trying to dial the police. Is there anything wrong with the line?
Stay where you are. What are you doing?
Yes, I would like to speak to one of the detectives on homicide.
Why?
I could be interested in Susan's confession, don't you?
Confession? The ravings of a demented girl? You call that a confession? You must be as mad as she is.
Well, perhaps I am.
Why are you doing this, Tony? She's not in her right mind. You know they'll never believe her.
Maybe they won't. They will accomplish one important thing.
What?
It will force the authorities to reopen their investigation of Jessica's death.
Well, what good would that do?
This time, they may discover the person who took her own life and my face.
You fool. If the girl is committed, the estate will go to Edward. You'll be left without a penny. What good is your revenge without profit?
You're more of a woman instead of a merchant. You know the answer to that.
Well, what if they do find out Jessica was murdered? What'll it change? Will it bring her back to life? Will it make you handsome?
Get out of here, Francine.
And what about me? Susan knows where the necklace is. She admitted it to me just now. All I need is a little more time, Tony.
Time? Time stopped for me 3 years ago.
You loved me once, Tony. Must have meant something to you. One favor for old time's sake. One favor, Tony. Please don't call them. For what I once meant to you.
What you once meant to me.
Is it asking?
You meant absolutely nothing. I never loved you. It was Jessica. It was always Jessica.
Be reasonable, Tony. Do you want everything to go to Edward? That's what'll happen if you call the police. Tony, it doesn't matter what you and I may or may not have meant to each other. What matters is today. As good as tomorrow without money of our own to enjoy it with.
I did everything I could to break up their marriage. I even told her Edward was having an affair with you, but she only laughed. It was here in this room, 3 years ago.
Dear, dear, dear Tony. Don't tell me you got me back from this wonderful party. Just because you want to tell me that Edward and Susan's governess are having a love affair. You know you're absolutely impossible.
But nevertheless, it's true, Jessica.
Of course it's true, darling. But if I wouldn't give him his freedom, he wouldn't give me mine. So don't you be so silly.
Good Lord, Jessica, the man doesn't love you.
Of course he doesn't love me. As a matter of fact, I don't think he ever did.
Why don't you leave him? We can be happy together. We always were.
Darling, don't be such a boring man. I'm completely happy now.
But you do love me, don't you, Jessica?
Of course I love you. And I love you. And I love you. And I love you. As a matter of fact, I love all men. You know the funny thing? The only man I don't love is my husband.
Nothing. Nothing really meant anything to Jessica. No, I never loved you, Francine. The only feeling I ever had for you was that of utter contempt.
Operator. Operator, will you answer me? Answer me. Operator, will you answer me? Operator.
Tony, darling, and remember, I love you. Susan, what are you doing out of bed? It's very late.
Didn't Daddy come home with you, Mommy?
He'll be home very soon, but will you please tell me now, why aren't you in bed?
I'm waiting up for Daddy. I have a surprise for him.
Susan, what are you hiding? What do you have in your hands?
It's nothing.
Let me see it, Susan. Let me see it. It's my necklace. Where did you find it?
I had to take it, Mommy. I really had to.
You mean you took my necklace? You took my necklace, Susan?
I had to. Don't you see, Mommy? If I could be as pretty as you, then Daddy would love me also.
Oh, Susan. Do you realize what trouble you made with this idiotic idea of yours? You upset the whole household. The police were called in. They embarrassed everybody with their questioning and suspicions. Well, now, come on, dear. Give it to me.
Please, Mommy. Let me wear it for Daddy. So I can be pretty.
Give it to me.
Please, Mommy.
Give it to me.
No! I have to have it. I have to be pretty for Daddy.
Come back here.
Cedarwood Bridge was out. I couldn't get through. I tried the back roads, but the car skidded off. I had to leave it. How's Susan?
Susan?
Where did you find that dress?
Dress?
Take it off. I never want to see you in that again. Do you understand?
Where are you going?
Well, to call the druggist to see if he can get through with the medicine.
Susan's waiting for you in her room. Why don't you use the phone there?
Yes, I better check on her.
Susan? Susan, where are you? Where are you?
Mommy, let me wear it for Daddy, so he can see how pretty I can be too. Please, Mommy.
Susan! Come back
Give me the necklace.
Please, Mommy. Please.
Give it to me, Susan.
No.
Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me.
Francine. Oh, my God. Oh, I remember it. Oh, my God.
Susan! Francine, where is Susan? Where is Susan? Where did you find this?
I took it from Jessica's murderess. Her own daughter.
Susan? No, you're out of your mind.
Am I? It's Susan who's out of her mind. If you don't believe me, go down to the reception room. You'll find proof of it.
Anthony? Oh, no.
You've seen him?
Yes, I saw.
She's a unique murderess, your daughter. She kills and then forgets.
Well, it can't be. It can't be.
Oh, I assure you, Edward, it can be.
Where is she?
Well, I don't know. And what's more, I don't care. All I want is to get away from this house. Away from that lunatic daughter of yours, and most of all, from you.
This is like that other night.
I'm divorcing you, Edward.
Fire, the screams. It's just like that other night.
You're as mad as your daughter. I said I'm leaving you.
No. No, you are not going.
Try and stop me, and I'll tell the police what I know about Anthony. And what really happened to Jessica.
What really happened to Jessica? You think you know?
Edward, all I want is the necklace and my freedom.
Your freedom?
Give them to me and I won't say a word. I swear it.
I know all about wanting to be free.
Oh, let me go.
Let you go? How easily you say those words. But it wasn't that easy to get you. And I did it for you. Don't you understand? All for you.
Oh, Edward, you're a fool.
It was all for you. Remember? It was the night of the governor's party. Jessica wasn't feeling well and went home early, so I met you at the hotel, but I didn't spend the entire night as you thought. After you went to sleep, I left. I was determined to do what you wanted, to settle things with Jessica once and for all. She was lying there. Jessica? I asked Jessica what had happened. Jessica? She said it was Susan. She had a fight with her. I asked her why it was Susan.
As a matter of fact,
Then I saw it.
I was right.
The necklace.
Susan had it.
She had it in her hand the same way.
Now just hold my neck.
She told me that she came home and discovered her on the stairs, hiding the gems behind her back. She said Susan had taken it from her strongbox. How I had neglected my daughter and had made a little sneak out of her. I said I didn't care about the necklace or Susan. I said she could keep Susan. She could keep the whole estate for all I cared. I told her I was in love with Francine, desperately in love, and I wanted her to divorce me. I told her to stop laughing. I begged her to give me a divorce, to let me go. She just kept on laughing. She called me a fool. But a necessary fool she will never let go. She had the wealth, but I had the good family name needed to go with it. No, she said she would never give up the prestige of my name. She kept right on laughing, too. Calling me a ridiculous fool. Don't you see? I did it for you.
Oh, that's what's so funny. Oh, you went through all that pain to leave one woman for another one who's about to leave you.
I did it for you, Francine. I had to be free. I had to be free. I had to be free. It's just like that other night. Just like that other night. Just like...
Hello, Daddy. I've been waiting up for you.
Oh, my God.
Isn't it beautiful, Daddy? Do you think I'm pretty, Daddy? Now, do you think I'm pretty as Mommy or Francine?
You've always been my beautiful baby.
I'm so happy, Daddy. Remember how frightened you were that night? Remember how frightened you were that they'd find out what happened to Mommy? But they didn't, did they? So don't be frightened now, Daddy. Nobody will find out this time either. Here, I'll help you. Just like I helped you that other time. Nobody will ever find out what happened. Now that Mommy's gone, and Francine is gone, now that you're free of both of them, I'll be your pretty girl, won't I, Daddy?
Yes, you'll always be my pretty girl.
I'll always be your pretty girl, Daddy. I'll never leave you the way Mommy and Francine did. The worms crawl out in your stomach and out your mouth. Did you ever see a hearse go by and think that you were going to die?